Hey everyone, how you doing? Sykes here. Just want to take a quick moment to give you a heads up about this episode. So, as some of you have probably noticed over the past few weeks, I have been experimenting and learning how to record these episodes remotely. I have made it to a point today at the time of me recording this where I have a really good setup in place. It's very seamless. It sounds great. You could see I'm recording on it right now. No issues. But 3-4 weeks ago, when I recorded a lot of the episodes that I've been doing, I didn't have it figured out just yet. And I still want to release these episodes because they are great conversations, but they have their issues. So with today's episode in particular, there is just some weird lag with the audio and the video. I couldn't get it to sync up right. I'm not too sure why or what happened in this particular situation, but the conversation sounds good. I had a really good talk with Sean, aka Strangeness In Proportions, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So if you're somebody that just listens to the episode, you don't really watch it, you don't have anything to worry about. For those of you that feel the need to watch these episodes all the way through, it's going to be a little funky in places, and I apologize for that. But with all that being said, this is an awesome talk, and I'm going to shut up so you can get into it. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes, and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people, I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you out there who are new to the show, welcome. Feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer and soda or water or coffee or strawberry milk, whatever you like, in the fridge. Happy Saturday. I'm going to have a sip of this. All right. And here we are. Here we be. I am sitting here today with my new friend, a musician type, a singer, a songwriter, a sad boy, a self-proclaimed sad boy, as I have seen on the internet. Please make some noise for Strangeness In Proportions, a.k.a. Sean?
Sean.
Sean.
You nailed it.
All right.
You nailed it.
Why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Well, you said it best. I'm a self-proclaimed sad boy. I've been doing music for, I started playing guitar when I was like 12, and just, starting off with shit like Blink-182, and just like everyone wants to be in a band if you're like that age, like playing an instrument. So it just, I'm 20 now. I've been making music officially under the, releasing my own solo stuff under the name Strangeness In Proportion since 2015, I want to say. I've kept this band name all throughout all the years of school that I've been doing music, and had different members and shit, but officially it's always been a solo thing, just me. I feel like it's easier.
Sure.
I have a lot of fun being obviously I'm all about, hearing what other people have to say about my stuff and trying to incorporate other people's opinions and ideas, but like it is a lot of fun just being solo and being able to do whatever I want.
I agree. I think that also, you're still at the very beginnings of your musical journey. You're a younger individual. And I think that it's not entirely uncommon for a lot of people, I think, to have that time where they're just figuring it out, making music by themselves, and not necessarily being super concerned about being in a band. I think sometimes people that don't take the time to actually work on writing songs and putting together the things themselves, and they need other people around them all the time. Those people have a harder time, I think, growing as songwriters versus somebody like yourself that maybe is just deciding to do this themselves. While not, I think that you probably, still are down to collaborate and work with other people when you can.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it seems like, your focus right now is just kind of like, well, I'm figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, not to be, maybe it's just my my sad boy coming out, but it's like not to be like super like down. It's like I love jamming with people and I love collaborating. Collaborating is awesome, and that's like I don't understand and luckily I haven't really experienced much of it, but I don't understand musicians that need to like beat down other musicians. It's like any style, like we can work together. Like if we vibe with each, like even if we don't vibe with each other, there's no reason to not like, or there's no reason to like knock someone down. It's a very collaborative and very community driven, career path or hobby or whatever it is for anyone doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. It's just I just like doing things on my own terms, and things are so temporary. I don't know who I want to be a bandmate for the rest of my life, or I don't know who I would eventually want to replace in the future if I had to, So it just, it is, it's a mix of a lot of things. And like for my last album, I had people come in and like really, like I wrote a song specifically with my friend, and it's so much fun. It's incredible, and I of course there's pros and cons of it, but ultimately I like kind of I'm 20, I'll be 21 in October. Kind of ride out my 20s, be like a single musician and just hang out and do what I want to do. The musician bachelor, as you will.
That's really funny. I think that going back to your comment on some musicians beating down other musicians, I think that those people tend to just have self-esteem issues that they're not quite ready to publicly deal with. So they put it onto other people's shoulders. Like, oh, like, when somebody's like, oh, this person isn't good enough to work with me, or this person sucks. In a way, they're kind of saying like they suck, or like I'm not open-minded enough to understand what somebody else is doing. That's kind of how I take those sorts of things. Grumpy people aren't worth the time or effort. I think that I think I used to sweat that stuff a lot more. I'm not saying that you sweat that stuff. It seems like you're pretty level-headed about it. But when I was your age, I think I sweated that stuff a lot more. But as I've gotten older, I've like stopped caring how good of a musician someone is and just how nice of a person they are. It like means so 100%. Much more to me. Like writing a good song is not special. I find that like being a kind person's a lot rarer these days. So that tends to be the type of creative that I gravitate towards. So now you've been, releasing music online for the past half a decade. You said you started around 2015. It's 2020 now. And I'm curious, what it's like for you, if it even feels different at all for you releasing music, because obviously you grew up with the internet and you're not somebody that is familiar with a world of what it was like trying to promote music outside of the internet. I'm sure you've heard stories from old fogies like myself that are like, things were so different back in my day. And the question I want to ask you, given your age and your experience growing up in the internet and social media, what do you think of when you think of times before the internet? Like when you think of people telling you about promoting music before social media, what comes to mind? Like, do you think does it seem like something like, oh, that would be great? Or does it seem like, how the fuck did you do anything back then? How do you feel about it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in all kinds of ways, just like the way, technology in general has progressed, with what we can do with sound, back in the day, like Fleetwood Mac doing a fucking perfect take, and you couldn't, you had to cut and snip and splice, and I don't fucking know all that nonsense.
Oh, sure.
So it definitely gives me like a much greater respect for my elders. No, but like it's this weird nostalgic. It's like I'll never be able to experience that time, and it's interesting. But like, kudos to you and everyone else. Like that sounds absolutely impossible. And I mean, it with the internet. Obviously, I'm I'm talking to you, I'm networking with people, I'm making a lot of friends and having a lot of fun. But like, even with the internet, it seems like impossible. And kind of back to what we were saying with like people knocking each other down. It's like, and the self-esteem. It's like, of course, like naturally you're going to compare yourself to other people at some point, but it's like that doesn't mean that like they need to be less than you. It's like, and I often catch myself every once in a while, like, oh, why, I've been doing this so much longer than like these new kids. It's like, why did they like blow up on TikTok and now all of a sudden they have a song? And it's like, but it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
It's like I'm still having fun, and it's like I always have that spiraling tendencies to think about things like that. But ultimately, I'm not gonna like comment shit and be like, oh, why, like, fuck you for listening to this person. Like, it's like, enjoy what you enjoy.
You can't,
and
dude,
yeah,
you can't be that person because nobody wants to be around that person.
yeah, literally.
Like, if you're just gonna be miserable, you're just really doing yourself a huge disservice, especially if you're somebody that does genuinely want to make music and, build a community of creatives and cool people around you. I think a lot of people that are on the internet now, it's so much easier to be aware of things that normally you wouldn't have been aware of. Like when I was in high school, we didn't have Instagram or TikTok or any of that stuff. So
Yeah.
I had no idea how popular other people were. There was no such thing as blowing up on YouTube or anything like that. So like the only thing I was concerned about at that time was like my peer group, like the people that, were in the bands that I knew and my friends and family. And as long as like, I had their respect and like we were able to do stuff, that was it. It was like, I'm riding high as long as I have the respect and like, I'm able to hang out with the people that are in my world, like my environment. And now everybody's world's so much bigger now. But the unfortunate thing is it feels like a lot of people tend to forget about the people around them. They like overlook the people around them that do care and that are into what they're doing. And they get caught up in like this thing of like, oh, well, I don't have the same amount of followers on fucking TikTok as somebody else. So I guess I'm not good. Meanwhile, you have a bunch of friends around you that are like, no, you are good. And we like you and we care about you, but it's so easy to overlook it. So, my advice
100%.
to you or to anybody that maybe you're friends with that's watching this now is like, use the internet to your advantage, put your stuff out there. But if it doesn't blow up right away or ever, that doesn't like devalue you as an artist. And it doesn't mean that like the people that are around you, the people that the people that you'll potentially be spending the rest of your life with, like building lifelong relationships with, the people that are actually going to be there, don't ignore them and don't take their opinions and thoughts about you for granted. Cause like that's who really matters, friends and family. Fuck the internet. To some degree. But it is cool because you can use it to do positive stuff like this, like meeting people. And, I appreciate the fact that you reached out to me and you were pretty persistent about trying to get on the show and talk. No, it's awesome because it's good to see people using the internet for good. Like really like, I have this thing that I'm doing. I make music or I make art, whatever it is that you do. And like reaching out to people just to make connections and network. That's what we should be using this for. With
100%. Like I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Go for it. It's all good. It's all good.
Like 100%. I saw I saw the episode with Nate Huge Palmer.
Yeah.
And I love your platform. And I mean, I know there's like things like this, but it's hard to figure out, like, you have such a wide, like, vast world of all this information. It's like, where do I even look? Like, what community am I supposed to, like, what niche? Because I genuinely believe there's a community, especially with the internet, there's a niche and community of people that would 100% like anything anyone created.
Yeah.
I mean, from different, like, there is a person in the world that would love, you could shit on a plate and they would love it,
Sure. Yeah.
And not like that not to be like an asshole, I not meaning in a bad way, but like, 100%, like, you find your community, and it could be, national and nationwide, or it could be like like you said, your friends and family. But they're genuinely, I believe that everyone has some sort of art in them and can create something, and it's so interesting seeing people who don't write or don't do music like trying it. And it's like, even if they don't stick with it, it's like that's honestly it. I don't want to compare like value, but it's like that's so much. It's just so neat. It's like, wow, like my grandpa has been playing music. I think he's been playing piano since he was 13, and he's like over 75 now, and he hasn't made a career out of it, but like, he is an incredible musician, and everyone around him loves that and loves listening to his music. I'm very glad he did a piano ballad on as the last track on my self-titled album. It's called The End, and it's like so nice to be able to have that conserved. And it's like, not to be morbid, but it's like that's something that will carry on. And this physical copy, I got it pressed on vinyl, and it's like we can have CDs and the internet.
Yeah.
If the internet crashes, hopefully we'll have a record player somewhere.
Absolutely.
But to have a physical copy of something, and it's like that. It's just so incredible. But yeah, it's like, and I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. I'm so scatterbrained, but you know, it's very strange with how my music has progressed. And it's like, obviously being like 14 to 15, I mean, 12 to now, that was my whole teen years, like fucking absolutely ridiculous. Like me growing up, and kind of documenting my growth for half of that time. And it's like I actually recently like took a listen to a lot of my old stuff, and it's like there's definitely some very good stuff in there, but it's very personal, and it's weird because it's like it's not bad, but it just doesn't represent me as
Sure.
much anymore. And it's very interesting seeing that, like what I'm doing now and because I started off, just playing my guitar in my bedroom. I knew like 5 chords max, playing the same chords for every single song. And I always wrote, so lyricism was a big thing for me. But it was really just, I feel like a lot of people kind of start like this, just the cathartic, lyric writing and music writing. And it's like, it's just neat because it's like these things that I was focused on when I was in like 8th grade versus now being like in college or, working and trying to like move out and shit like that. It's very interesting. And I started like, well, if I'm ever playing these songs live, I don't want to put anything on the album that I couldn't play by myself live. And it was like, I understood why, because I didn't want to be like boring live, but it's just, I can figure out how to make a live version of a song. It doesn't need to be like I'm playing exactly the album, because then you can just go listen to the album. You don't need to see it live, so I'm glad that I've gotten out of that, and I've like I have plenty of people come into the studio to do things for tracks. So it's like I still get that collaborative and that socialization of working with other musicians. So that's so much fun. But it is awesome. I wish my tour hadn't gotten shut down early because of this virus, but we'll figure it out later. But I really, really did enjoy the short time of like kind of being on the road, and I love coming to Pittsburgh and playing shows there. The college community is absolutely insane. I love them all. I've had so much fun with house shows and stuff, and it's like that's the stuff that I feel like with or without the internet, like house shows are like so I definitely will grow out of them one day, but right now I love that atmosphere and that vibe so much. It's so much more intimate and personal.
Yeah, I agree 110% with you. I love house shows, but it is hard for me now. Being I'm turning 35 this year. I'm quite a dinosaur at this point. And it's rare for me and my other 35-year-old friends to have a house party anymore. It just doesn't happen. And I think a few years ago, I played a show in Oakland, a house show, and
Mhm.
it was a good show and everybody there was really cool, but it's also kind of weird being in your 30s in a basement in Oakland with a bunch of kids that may or may not be 21 that all have alcohol. And it's just kind of like, I'm happy this exists 110%,
Yeah.
but it's just not for me anymore. I can't be here. It's just like I don't even know if I can legally be in this room anymore.
Yeah.
So I've moved on from it. But again, there's plenty of artists that have that space, and like, I'll play my shows where I play my shows. But it's always fun to still keep in touch with those people and get people on the podcast and try to still be as connected to that world as I possibly can, because I'm very like, fuck bubbles, fuck niches, fuck genres. Like I'll talk to anyone about anything. I don't care if you're popular. I don't care if you've 0 monthly listeners on Spotify. I don't give a shit. Like if you're passionate about what you do, it's like, I like talking to people that just want to talk. That's pretty much the whole thing. And you had mentioned, talking about, you had brought up something and I totally forgot what it was, because we went off in a bunch of different spots.
Yeah,
but
I ramble.
that's okay. That's okay. I feel like podcasts are all about rambling. I think that's the whole fucking point, right? So with the music that you're doing now, you just put out a EP or a short album recently. I don't know how you want to put it. I think like all albums are short now for whatever reason. Attention spans are short. So let's talk a bit about that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's crazy. I'm so absolutely proud of it. And I, especially coming off of my last my previous album, the self-titled, that was like 21 songs, I think, like a ridiculous album. And it was very nice to be able to, I took like literally the absolute opposite approach. I was like, here's a handful of songs. Let's see what we can do with them. Let's spend like a very solid amount of time on each song, and figure out how to make it its own and what it needs to be and the vibe we're trying to capture. And that was so much fun. I wouldn't necessarily call this album a concept album, but it has recurring themes that and kind of vibes that I'm very pleased with how they came out. The first track I is funny. I mean, it's I'm trying to smoke these hornets, which is a Always Sunny quote. Charlie finds like a wasp nest or a hornet's nest, and he's like, "I'm gonna try and smoke these hornets to get their honey."
Yeah.
I think the quote, "I'm trying to smoke these hornets to death so I can get their honey." And that was really fun because I had this opening like riff, that I had been playing for like a while. And I was like, when am I going to do something with this? And I jotted down some lyrics, figured out some chords. And just as the album progressed and other songs on the album had like so much more going on, I was like, I don't want to scrap this song, and I don't know what it's missing, because it's a good song, but it's just not living up to everything else. And I don't know what it's missing. And we added, Raul from June Kills. He did vocals on it at the end, and we added some electric guitar very briefly. And definitely the cherry on top was adding melodica, and I absolutely love how the song turned out now.
Cool.
I'm so happy. And then we got Puzzles, which is, I'm so happy that song exists. That was also I had been working on for a while and had a practice with a few random female friends to get the voice kind of figured out. I don't really remember what my writing process for that one was. It was so long ago, but having my friend Gabby come on and sing, I had heard her just in like, private, like bedroom, like hangout sessions. I had heard her sing before, and it was just the perfect, like kind of indie bedroom, ukulele girl, like
Sure.
vibe. Just it was perfect, and I wrote all the guitar, all the ukulele, all the intricate little, pieces of that song. So that's really nice because it turned out very pretty, and I had a lot of intricacies, like, just little guitar things and the ukulele, and did everything, and had her come in and do the vocals, and it was just absolutely beautiful. You know, I'm supposed to promote my music, but if you listen to any song, Gabby did an absolute beautiful job on Puzzles, the second song on the album. Where I'm not the best singer in the world, but she fucking blew me away, and I cannot give her enough thanks and appreciation and props. I love her. She is a great friend. And she didn't like having people hear her music or hear her sing. So I was like, she's probably going to say no, but I got to ask her. And she was very receptive to it. I was like, there's no way she's going to agree to do this. And she did. And that was awesome. So, big props to her. Then we got Vivian, which was actually a redone version of an old song that I wrote my sophomore year of high school with my friend Billy, about a girl that he dated in middle school. So it's really not that deep, but it is funny how deep of a song it is. And we tried to keep it true to the original, but a lot of people, it was on like an old EP, like way back in the day. And a lot of people actually, that was like one of my most played songs, Vivian. I was like, you know what? It's not terrible, but it deserves, I recorded it like on my grandma's iPad in GarageBand. Like it just deserved better quality and more
Sure.
care. So I'm glad that we do that. I like doing things, like callbacks to old works, and maybe redoing songs as bonus tracks or things like
Yeah.
that.
I've done that
Little
several
homages to my
times.
old work.
Yeah, I've done that several times as well. With you and your process, I mean, not only are you, writing these songs, you are self-producing and self-engineering, recording all the stuff as well?
No, actually, no. I've gone to a few different studios
Okay.
over the years, but as of where the last album was recorded was Midley Grange with my buddy Dylan Tash. He does great work. I've been in contact with him for a while, and we just decided, apparently he's lived so close by all these years, and we're friends on Facebook, and just
Cool.
never, yeah, it just I was like, I'll definitely go back for whatever next project I have. I have some ideas that I'm floating around that the second I'm allowed back in his studio, I'm going to record something. I am so excited for what I have brewing during all this free time.
Yeah. What have you been doing with yourself in the free time?
uh well, so I have I'm working on a song about Eeyore
Oh,
that
from Winnie the Pooh?
yeah, from Winnie the Pooh. Yep.
The OG sad boy.
Exactly. I like to think I have a lot of layers. I am definitely a fan of Shaggy.
Okay.
I grew up with I grew up with Scooby Doo, and of course SpongeBob. I have a bunch of SpongeBob video games right over here. Yeah, I have a lot of layers with my cartoon characters. I like
Okay.
to think,
Fuck yeah.
yeah, and I don't know what gave me the idea, because I don't really write in like other people's perspectives or like a character's perspective that often. So I don't know what triggered it, but it was the idea sparked. Oh, you know what it was actually? I was looking on Cameo. Are you familiar with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, I was looking on Cameo, just seeing who was there, because I had just recently discovered it. I was like, wow, there are a lot of cool people. And the original voice actor of Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, Jim Cummings, I think his name is, I'm pretty sure, he's on there. I was like, I could write a song and have Jim Cummings in it. So I was like, well, okay, I love Winnie the Pooh, it's got to be Eeyore. And it flowed so naturally. It came out, and I feel like it was very true to the character, but it's also very relatable. And
Yeah.
the chords are beautiful. I am so excited. I'm gonna have some gang vocals, like very nice. I have so many ideas, and I've been working on my phone that I that I'm using for this call is propped up on my keyboard that I use to figure out all kinds of different sounds. Oh my god, it is the most work I've done since this album, and it only came out like a little while ago. But
Yeah.
you know, for the most part, my stuff was done. I was just kind of overseeing and having other people do things for like the tail end of it. So I'm very very excited for this. I'll probably release it as a single whenever I can, and then go from there. But yeah, other than that, a whole lot of nothing as far as quarantine activities. You know, just music and video games that I've been sick of for years.
Sure. Yeah, I've been just recording a ton of music. You know, we had pretty much an entire album written and demoed out, ready to record. And yeah, this extra unexpected free time's just kind of expedited the recording process a bit. So
Yeah.
just been working on that, and I don't know. Trying not to do too much. I feel like it's
Mhm.
really easy. I get into habits really easily, and I don't want to get into a habit of like using all this free time to start up 10,000 new projects, cuz then whenever
Yeah.
I have to go back to work, I'm not going to be able to do them, and I'm going to have a
Mhm.
hard time like quitting all of these new things that I started. So I'm just trying to like pump the brakes a bit and just put a little bit more time into the things I was already doing. Have you
Mhm.
done any Instagram live performances yet or anything like that?
Just on my own. Um, I ever just like I don't really announce them. I don't really have like a schedule.
Sure, you just kind of
Just
set it
like
up and go
whenever
for
I
it.
feel like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like nonchalant. Low key kind of fun. But yeah, I have a tentative one planned. My friend is releasing an album, and we're trying to figure out like I think we might do. I just installed Steam on my phone, so I think,
Cool.
or not Steam, Twitch,
Twitch. Okay.
um, Stream, Steam, Twitch. Yeah, I just got the Twitch app, which I'm very ignorant about, but it that seems pretty cool for doing live streams. So we're trying to figure something out for that. And once I do, that would be awesome. Yeah. I really like engaging. Like I love seeing comments, and plenty of people throughout the years have like messaged me on Instagram, and it's really nice because it's not like every day someone's messaging me on Instagram and being like, "Hey, I love your stuff," but when it happens, it's like so nice, and it's like, you know, I have a new friend now.
Yeah.
um, so that's really cool. But yeah, um, just chilling. Yeah, not much. I haven't been on live actually in a while. I feel like I was doing it a lot, like pretty much any free moment I had, and it was like the same people. Like shout out to them, like they just kept joining. And I was like, well, I don't really have anything new to give you. I'm just playing the same songs, hoping
Sure.
like new people will join. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I pumped the brakes on that a little bit
Yeah.
and just been working on mostly the year song.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better. I feel one of the super interesting things about social media is like everybody feels like they have to constantly post stuff, and it's created a lot of mediocre content. Like I remember like back before social media, when I liked a band, they would put out an album, and then I would have that album for a year, sometimes maybe 2 years before I heard anything new from them. And it was totally fine, because how much time do I have to like really engage with like, if I like 50 bands, if all of them are putting out a new song every other week, I can't keep up.
Mhm.
I'm a huge Hayley Williams fan from Paramore, and she has a solo album coming out, and she's been
Okay.
like releasing singles from it. And
Mhm.
like it was like every week she kept on putting new stuff out. And it got to a
Oh,
point where it's like I can't listen. I'm like exhausted. Like I just can't keep up with everyone putting out this much stuff, because it's like, I love you, Haley, but you're not the only person on the planet. There's so
yeah.
much other stuff. It's like I can handle the 40 minutes of music at once a year.
Mhm.
but like listening to like 5-10 minutes of music here and there every other week, it's too fucking much for me. Maybe it's not for other people. Obviously it must be working because there are a lot of huge popular artists that are releasing music like that now. So I guess it's working.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, I'd much rather just have a chunk of something and like sit down and watch it. It's like, I don't like watching movies in pieces. Like I want to watch a movie start to finish. And I'm kind of the same way when it comes to albums. Like I like listening to a whole batch of music from somebody. It's always fun to hear a song here and there. But if like, if you're giving me a brand new song all the time, I gets to a point, I get tired of listening to the songs. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love like, and I feel like maybe I'm generalizing a little bit too much, but just from personally the people I've talked to is like, they definitely go song to song, like just a track, like by itself, then like, shuffle mode, like it doesn't matter like what's playing.
Yeah.
And I get that, but also I completely understand what you're saying. And I'm like this too. I think it's definitely changing. And it's weird with how our attention spans are changing with like how much content we have, but also that things are coming back, like having vinyl. And I'm going to assume people who actually have vinyl listen to it all the way through, unless it's just up on display to like be, neat and retro, unless it's just an aesthetic. Like I get an album and I'm like, okay, plop it on. The only time that I won't listen to an album all the way through is if I get too lazy to flip it over.
Sure.
But at that point, I'll just go on Spotify and listen to the whole album, And I love, you can release a single and it's like, okay, I'm excited. But like, depending on the length of the album, I don't think it should really be any more than 2. Unless it's like, I don't know, a 30-song album. I don't know, like do what you want. But I feel like 2 singles is like like spread apart is like enough to hold us over.
Yeah, it's so hard because like I also understand the positives to releasing songs instead of albums, because it's like you put the same amount of time into releasing one song as you do an album. And I've seen it happen when I release a whole album of material and I look at the Spotify streams and people haven't listened to half of it. It's like the whole second half of the album, like the streams are so much smaller than the first half. And I don't think it's because people don't like it. I just think it's because people might only have 20 minutes. Like, oh, they put it on when they're driving from point A to point B. Yeah. And then they take their phone out of the car, and then whenever they get back in, they're not putting your album back on. They're distracted with something else, Yeah. So, but then the problem happens when, okay, so I'm trying to promote the rest of this album that nobody listened to. I can't like make a post saying like, hey, check out our album, but only listen to the second half that you haven't listened to yet. You know what I mean? People just see you posting an album. Like, even if somebody only listened to the first half, they'll see you post it and they're like, well, I already listened to it. So like, there's a whole batch of material. Like if you have a 12-song album and 6 of those songs nobody's really listened to, how much time do you think you spent writing and recording and editing those 6 songs? Probably weeks, maybe months of time on that batch of material that is like largely just getting overlooked. So I understand why you may want to release smaller batches of music or singles, because then at least whenever you're putting stuff out, the general public perceives it as, oh, this is new and I will listen to it. And you're actually giving people an opportunity to check out like more time of what you're putting out. I think things kind of get lost when they get released in batches, but I'm old school and I prefer like a whole batch of material. But I think, like you were saying, a lot of people are very shuffle minded, playlist focused and song to song type of people. So regardless of how I feel, I guess if you want to play ball, you got to release stuff that coordinates with how the general public reacts and engages with music, and not necessarily how you engage with it as a creative.
Yeah, it's tough. And like, I'm super into vinyl, so it is even tougher, when like 7 brand new albums are coming out and it's like, I want them on vinyl. And it's like, guys, it's all on the same day. You can't do this to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I'm gonna buy all of them, and I'm gonna the bank is gonna yell at me.
Oh yeah,
it's not gonna be good.
They get you with those.
Like, come on, enough of that.
Yeah, the sick limited edition gatefold color vinyl pressings.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm like,
there's only three of these. We only made 3 of them. Yeah. You're like, fuck.
Yeah, and it's like it's definitely me just justifying bad habits, but like I definitely get in the mindset of like, if I don't get it now, it's gonna sell out instantly.
Sure.
I'm like, then I'm never gonna get it.
No, dude, so I've been in that boat. I have plenty of records sitting behind me that I've spent way too much money on, but nowadays I've definitely calmed down with worrying about like getting like the limited edition variants of things and stuff like that. It's very rare for me to buy a new album right when it comes out, unless it's something that I super duper want and I'll pre-order it. But for the most part, I just have like a want list that I update on Discogs. And if I have an extra, $25, I'll buy something here and there, just kind of get something off the list, and then it'll come in and I'll listen to it. I figure, most of the time, if there's an album, especially with new music, because when I started collecting records, I was hyper focused on collecting all the stuff that I grew up with and albums that I've loved for like, 10, 15 years. There's a lot of albums that come out now that like I like temporarily. Like I'm into it for like a year, and then a year goes by and it's not that I don't like it, but it's like, well, I don't necessarily need to own a physical copy of this, so I'm glad I didn't spend $30 on the vinyl. Sometimes it's like, it's better for me to like wait a year or two to buy a record. And it's like, oh, this is something that came out a couple years ago and I'm still listening to it all the fucking time on Spotify. I should actually own a copy of this versus
100%.
So that's how I engage with new music in terms of physical media, with exceptions to like if a friend puts out an album or something like that, I'll obviously pick it up. But
yeah, of course. But it's just, it also like I don't know, like progressively getting more into, local or underground musicians. So it's like when they release vinyl, it's like so much more urgent to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I released a limited run of my new album, and they sold out. It's been like a month and they sold out, and that's incredible because I love vinyl. So it was more of like, I'll get a few, see if people like them. It's fine if they don't. I'm happy to have a copy of my own work.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, they sold out, and it might be a little while before I get more of the albums. But right now, I'm planning on getting 7-inch singles with the 2 singles off of my album, Puzzles, which I talked about, and Slightly Burnt Coil. And I'm very excited for that.
Cool.
That should be really, really cool, and they'll be cheaper, so they'll be more accessible.
Yeah,
with a lot of people really like those songs. So, with
your pressings, are you just doing like lathe cuts, or are you getting stuff pressed? You're doing lathe cuts.
Yeah. Okay. For now, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's really complicated. I think a lot of people get kind of sideswiped by how expensive and daunting pressing records is.
100%. Yeah.
I think that, it costs so much more money to manufacture than you could ever possibly imagine. And then then whenever you go into the record store and you're like, oh, why does this fucking, double gatefold 180 gram fucking record cost $35? You're like, oh yeah, because it probably cost them fucking like $15 to manufacture the goddamn thing.
Yeah.
It's so expensive.
Yeah, it's crazy. And to not have like, I mean, and it's like, it's a very like specific thing. Like, yeah, it's coming back and getting popular again, but it's like, I only have like, I'm like somewhere over 1,000 followers on Instagram and stuff like that. But like, I'm new to Spotify, so I only have like a little under 100 listeners, I think. So it's like, it's more of like, if I can get like a quick copy for myself, then I'll like sell a few around. So I got like 15 or 20 copies of that, and I'll definitely get more because there's like very surprisingly like an incredible interest in them, which I'm very, very happy about. They turned out awesome. They look really cool.
That's awesome, dude. I think
I'm stoked.
I think that it's really important for somebody in your position and, my position as well. I mean, I think like regardless of the fact that I've been, maybe making music and in the local scene for a lot longer than you, I still feel like we're on the same playing field because we're sitting here face to face on the computer talking about the same things. We know the same people. So time doesn't fucking mean anything at this point. It's just a matter of, who you decide to surround yourselves with and the environment you're in. And I think for people like us, it's really important to know and be aware of like where, like what your capability for selling things is. And like, okay, like I'm very well aware that, I have this many followers and this many people that are going to be in the shit. So maybe getting like, like a couple dozen lathe cuts is the route for me to go before I like go and try to like get 500 LPs pressed.
Yeah.
Because I have friends that have done that. I've done that. I got 300 copies of a record that I put out a couple years ago pressed on vinyl, and I still have like 100 of them. I mean, granted, 200 records, that's a lot of records to sell, but I still have a fucking unopened box from the pressing plant in my fucking thing, right? I'm looking at it. It's right there. And it's like, fuck, man, like, I don't play nearly enough shows or tour nearly enough to sell that many units. And I think sometimes you get these, it's good to be optimistic, I think, and be like, yeah, I could sell 300 records, but also it's like, well, if you're spending an extra $1,500 that you could spend going on tour, I would just maybe get less records and save the extra money and go on tour. It's better to sell out and, get to spread yourself out more than buying a bunch of shit that now you can't fucking sell because you don't have money to go on the road. So it's just all sitting in your closet. Learn from me, learn from my mistakes. Anyone that's watching this, please, because I've definitely fucked up a lot.
Yeah. And then it's also like trying to like promote your stuff. And it's like, I would love to be able to break even and like make money on like going to the studio and, enough people will buy it that it justifies going to the studio.
Dude, yeah, that's
like, it doesn't matter to me. Like I am so generous. I'll make 100 CDs and I'll give away all of them. Like if the people who are taking them bother to listen to them, like more power to you. Like I didn't need the $5 for it. Like it's anyone in any other business would be like, oh, that's just called a bad investment. But it's like I'm having so much fun, and it's like it really is just about communicating and the community and like being with people and connecting with people.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's stay humble,
it's not a bad investment. I think that when you frame something like that, sure. It's like, if your end goal, if your business plan, it's like, are you looking for a monetary return profit, like monetary profit? Or are you looking for, this is like such a weird way to put this, but like a social profit?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's like, if your air quote business plan is to, be positive in your social profit and like, more aware, you've networked more and you've gotten yourself more out there as a result of like, monetary expenses. If like your goal is that social profit, then I would say it is a successful business plan. But
100%.
Yeah. I think that sometimes it's easy for people to get kind of like fucked up and mixed up about things, especially like when you start getting serious and money starts coming into things and you're manufacturing stuff and you're trying to go on the road and balancing all that out. It's a lot. I mean, you are essentially running a business. Even if you're only making $15 at the end of the night, you are still running a business. And I think you got to like ask yourself, like, if you really care about being a part of this social scene, do you care about driving 4 or 5 hours for 2 weeks from city to city, playing in basements, not making money, but you're making connections? Like if that's what you want to do, then do it. But if it's not for you, you got to ask yourself that question right off the bat. And I think also too, maybe not so much for you because you're a solo artist, but if you're in a band, it gets real complicated because most of the time you'll have a band with 4 or 5 people in it. And there's a good chance maybe only 2 or 3 of them are really about it. So there's always that one person, not always, but a lot of the time you get that one person that is not okay with this, like house shows, sleeping on floors, sleeping in the van. If you even have a van, sleeping in the Winnebago, whatever it is, and it could be really tough. So I think like having those communications with yourself as an artist and with the people around you, if you're in a band, before getting into things, I think is super helpful, especially when money starts coming into everything. Just being very, very transparent and very, very vocal about those things, like letting people know, like, this is what's going into it, getting everybody's expectations on the table, because like I've been in bands with people that are like, like, hey, are we going to, maybe get any money or split any of the profits from this new album? And I'm like, what? Like, what profits? It's like, okay, like, we spent $2,000 to record this album. We spent $1,000 getting it mastered. We spent $2,000 getting, 500 copies of it made. And we're charging, 10. It's like, okay, if you do the math, it's like these things cost us $8 each if you split it all up at the end of the day. And we're selling them for 10. We're making $2 profit off of all of these. So even if we sell all 500 of them, it's like we get $1,000 profit, maybe. But like selling 500 is so fucking much to do. That's so much work. It's like, we're playing, 2 shows a month or whatever. If we get on the road, we get like a week of shows. It's like, there's no profitability in it like that in terms of making the money, it sucks. I wish there could be more, but you gotta play shows. That's really the only way to, I think, make steady, consistent money doing music is if you're able to play a lot of shows, and if you're able to pull people. If you can get people in the door and you charge $5 or $10, and you have a small bill, only 2 or 3 acts, so all that money can kind of get split up. You might walk out with some money, but other than that, it's very, very hard.
Yeah, but I completely agree with you with what you were saying about like the monetary versus social is like that. It was never about money. My point more so was like, it sucks that part of it has to be about money.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I would love to play shows if it was a free show and not a single person bought merch. Like, just, I love the energy, and it's like not in a narcissistic way of like, oh, I loved going to shows and admiring these people, or like, but it's just, being able to entertain and, give people that atmosphere that I enjoy so much, if everyone's vibing and having a good time, like, and it for a lot of house shows, like a very party atmosphere. And it's like, obviously, like, I hope everyone stays safe and no one gets hurt, but like having a lot of fun, like chilling in basements or chilling in like dorm rooms and shit like that, it is really fun. And just being around people my own age, and like, or even not, like, just connecting with like everyone and all kinds of different styles of music. I'm the same kind of deal. It's like, oh, you like, you rap, you fucking, like, there are like a few like genres that I don't personally like, but it's like, especially if you're inviting me to the bill, like, I don't fucking care. Like, if it's like not 700 hours away, like, I don't fucking care. Like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that it's important to take advantage of those opportunities. It's always so funny. I think that for a long time there was like a weird stigma against mixed genre bills, which makes no sense, because it's like, I don't know anybody that only listens to one kind of music. Most people that I know like different music. So if they're going to go out to a show, they would probably like to see some different things. It gets exhausting. I play in a heavy metal band, and fuck, dude, like, we've played some shows where it's like all death metal bands, and it's like, is there a different band playing? Is the same band playing? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's wearing the same shirt with some band logo that I can't read, and they all have long hair, and they all sound the same. I don't even know what band's playing at this point. That's an exaggeration, obviously. But like, yeah, it's like, but it's fun sometimes where it's like, oh, okay, that's the metal band. And then like, oh, there's more of like a, maybe not like death metal, but maybe more of like a harder rock band, or like an indie rock band, or like a weird rapper that nobody was expecting, or whatever. It's fun to mix it up.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I don't, especially now that I'm trying to like experiment more with what I'm doing in the studio, and it's like I'm still just a guy with an acoustic guitar like going when I go out.
Yeah.
So it's like, the different like I even if I wanted to classify myself, I have no fucking idea. Like, I guess you could say singer songwriter,
That's
but that could
probably the
mean
best
so
bet.
many fucking things. You can say indie, but when you like indie is just an independent artist, but I feel like a lot of people associate indie with like this, like, the 1975 like Arctic Monkeys like vibe. So
Sure.
it's like, it's honestly meaningless at
I
this
would
point. There's so many genres and sub genres. It's
yeah,
like,
I would
what does
just
it even mean? What does it matter?
if I was you, I haven't heard anybody say like use this specific term before, and maybe it's a terrible term. But if I was you, what I would say is just I'm a modern singer-songwriter. So it doesn't get confused with like a Bob Dylan or a
Mhm.
whatever, something like nothing against that, but that's not exactly what you're doing. So I would just say like modern singer-songwriter, and versus like so it doesn't get mixed in the pile with maybe some artists that are a little bit more folky, because I think like
Yeah.
you get like kind of like a folky Americana vibe from
Mhm.
traditional singer songwriters, which is fine. That's just is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think maybe if you put the term modern on it, people would be like, oh, well, like modern what? Like, oh, like more modern, more modern any rock, pop punk, emo influence, sort of just
Mhm.
like what the more current state of rock has been in like the past 2 decades, like reflecting on that and not so much a singer songwriter based off of like the 50s, 60s, 70s.
Yeah. I think I had it. I don't know if I still do. I think I had it in my Instagram bio, like spilled ink acoustic. Like someone was like, "Well, just make your own genre." I was like, "Oh, yeah, cool."
Sure.
It's just like just name it whatever you want, and it's like, yeah. I mean, I guess like it's kind of like I have a lot of like stream of consciousness like lyrics, so it's like, yeah, spilled ink acoustic. That sounds cool. That fits like I don't know, Edgar Allan Poe typewriter aesthetic.
Yeah, sure.
um, I think I don't know if it's still there or if I just added this, but I think now my Instagram tagline is like songs to dissociate to.
Sure. I'm curious, like I think that it's going to be super interesting to see where your your lyrical content and like your whole approach to songwriting goes in the next 5 years, because it's going to like you're in hyperspeed right now. Being 20 years old, like everything is gonna change so fucking fast. I'm not trying to fucking grandpa old man talk you here. I think you're aware. You probably have
Oh,
people
whatever.
around you that are a little older, and you've probably seen it happen. But it's gonna reflect and change your music so goddamn much. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how that evolves. Because when I was writing and recording stuff when I was 15, 16, 17, you know what I mean? Through my teen years as well. And when I go back and listen to that stuff, it's like there's a lot of cool ideas and I'm like, wow, I could see what I was trying to do here. But then there's also a lot of stuff that like it felt so important to me at the time. Like it felt like, oh, I'm really making like some groundbreaking statement here. And now I look back at it 15 years later and I'm like, dude, you were such a cornball. It's great. It's great. I wouldn't take 1 second of any of it back, but it'll be super interesting, I think, for you and for me as well as an outsider, now that we are friends and we're connected, just to see how it evolves and grows. I have a pretty good feeling that there's a good chance, if things go well, you may not be such a sad boy in 5 years.
Yeah,
I would
I
hope.
mean
I would
that's
hope even
honestly,
sooner. I would hope even sooner. I
yeah,
wish nothing but
yeah, honestly,
positivity.
yeah. That's the hope. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm definitely branching out with like, and it's like my music's still very personal, but it's not like these like deeply like only I could kind of relate like metaphors. Like, I have a song about Eeyore,
Yeah, totally.
or I'm writing a song about Eeyore. My last album, the song's about, and it's like it is like kind of, I feel like a lot of people my age have this kind of existential like dread, and whether it's like prominent or underlying, I feel like a lot of people, I mean, maybe not just my generation, but yeah, at some point everyone feels it, I'm sure. but like a lot of people are around my age are very like vocal about it. So it's like, yeah, we can still like fuck around and hang out with friends and like, smoke weed or do whatever we do, but like have these talks about these kind of like, feelings and experiences.
Yeah.
But yeah, 100%. And like, I was very pretty much, when I first started music, when I was like 12, I was like super into like ACDC and like, I'm still pretty into Pink Floyd, but like,
Yeah.
like the older rock bands and stuff like that. Like, of course, I learned fucking Smoke on the Water. I really liked Blue Oyster Cult too, but ACDC was probably my favorite band for quite a few years.
Hell yeah, dude.
And then like I said, like, pop punk and like Blink-182 in middle school and like My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy and shit like that. And then I had like quite the like folk punk phase. But it's all like kind of off branches of like punk. And now I'm definitely widening my horizons.
Yeah.
I fucking love Post Malone.
Okay.
Like I really like couldn't really tell you why, but I fucking love him. He entertains the hell out of me. And I've really been getting into like, Joji. I like the lo-fi beats and stuff like that. All kinds of stuff. So it's really fun being able to incorporate. And it's like, I've had the idea of like doing like kind of a joking, like me, like trying to rap like this super like satirical, like I am the whitest guy coming from like the buttfuck suburbs of Pennsylvania, like trying to do a rap song. But like it would just be so much fun. And I'm very glad that I came out of my shell of like, oh, like I'm too punk to listen to literally anything else. Like, no, fuck, like, I mean, you do you, but like try and like experience more.
I'm glad you did too, because that's a terrible mindset to be in.
Yeah.
You're missing out on so much, it's like being it's like the equivalent of being someone that'll eat nothing but chicken tenders and French fries.
Yeah, you're right.
You're missing out on so much good stuff.
Yeah.
But you can't make everybody like everything. Some people are in their own ways. I find that, sometimes, especially with like music subgenres and cultures, it's interesting. Sometimes there's people that will like a style of music or say they only like a style of music in punk or something.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of the time it's like those people just like the culture, or they are friends with people in that scene, so they like it. It's like you never hear them talking about any bands or listening to any bands, but they're around. They don't watch any of the bands play, but they're just around because like, oh, this is where their people are. These are the friends that they've managed to make, and they want to hang on to them. So now I'm a part of the scene, even though I'm not 100% into it. It happens a lot with metal too. And I mean, any, I think any genre deals with it. I know plenty of people that are like that. So, not plenty, a few. I've known people like that. I don't know so many people like that now since I've gotten a little bit older. But, through my late teens, early 20s playing like VFW shows and basement shows and things like that, there was always the kids that were always around that, did not give a shit about any of the kind of music we were playing. It was just, they just wanted to be around the people. So,
yeah.
And I think
it's like if you buy it. Oh, I'm sorry. I cut you off. If you buy a ticket and hang out, like, yeah, like fine.
I think that's why you have a lot of artists like Post Malone that are blowing up right now, because it's like, regardless of the music, they're just such a character. They're like a person that like Post Malone is like a dude that I feel like most people would want to hang out with. Like, I would gladly have a beer with Post Malone and talk to him about whatever. Like I'm not a huge fan of his music, but I'm not going to be like, fuck that guy. Like, it's so funny when I see people like getting up in arms, especially people like that are my age or older that are online complaining about Post Malone. I'm like, bro, you're 40. Why the fuck do you give a shit about what this fucking dude is doing on the internet? It has no effect on you. Just embrace it. Trust me. The stuff that you listened to when you were 20 was not any fucking better than the stuff that kids are listening to now. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up listening to fucking, I grew up with old fucking, Blink-182 and fucking Korn and Limp Bizkit and stuff. Like that's shit that I listened to in middle school. I'm not about to fucking judge a young kid for liking Post Malone or 21 Pilots when I listen to fucking Limp Bizkit. Like I'm no fucking better. But like when you're young and growing up, you like that stuff. It's music geared towards younger people. So of course you're gonna fucking love it.
Yeah, I mean, what's very interesting to me is like, and this is kind of unrelated, but just Post Malone is like, he's so interesting because he's done a lot of Nirvana covers, but like he really reminds me of like Kurt Cobain, and I don't really know exactly why. Like he seemed like and I think maybe I'm just making this up, but I think his song Rockstar is like about how he wanted to be like, you know, a grunge artist or something like that. But like, you know, it wasn't selling.
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, I'm just going to do this. And it worked.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that I don't know. I mean, somebody could fact check this if they don't know, but I think that I'm pretty sure that Post Malone came from like kind of like a post-hardcore, post like screamo, Under Oath, that type of thing, like that sort of scene. I'm pretty sure that like he played in a band or something pre his solo career, and I mean it makes sense. You know, he obviously has, you know, a trained background. I think that that's the thing too, is like it's always like annoying to me when people like overlook the obvious musical talents of people just because they're on the radio. You know what I mean? It's like, have you ever watched fucking Lady Gaga sit down at a piano and play a song? She could play and sing her ass off. You know, fucking Post Malone could play and sing his ass off. 21 Pilots, they're incredibly talented musicians, but they get a lot of shit for being just like pop friendly stuff. Like I'll even fucking say it. Even Imagine Dragons. Like I do not give two shits about that fucking band at all. I think they make god awful fucking, you know, iPod commercial music, but it's just, they're still really good at what they do. They make, you know, super catchy, like modern stadium rock. It's not easy to do stuff like that. It's not easy to write a simple song that's gonna like resonate with that many people. You know, if music is a conversation between the artist and the listener, for one person or one group to start a conversation, a musical conversation that connects with millions of people, is fucking insane. So it's like to overlook that, I don't know, it's dumb. But a lot of people are selfish and narrow-minded and think the world revolves around them and their interests. So what can you do?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, it's crazy. But I'm very happy that I'm being able to experience more, and you know, it's joining another community, like, you know, hip hop or rap or like lo-fi beats or just something that, like, you know, there's nothing wrong with it, but I feel like a lot of people, like the hardcore punks, would be like, oh, you're like crossing over.
Yeah, no, dude, fuck that.
Do that.
Like,
you know,
don't split up. Like, don't split up. It's like you're a part of the music community. You know, fuck the genres, fuck the bubbles.
Yeah.
Anybody that is going to give you shit for that, they're probably not a part of the music community. They're a part of this social circle, and the music's like an afterthought to them. It's like a lot of those people are fucking temporary too. It's like they'll give you shit 1 week, and then the next week they're fucking done because, you know, they started dating somebody in another scene and you'll never fucking see them at a punk show again. Like that's what it is. Like those people tend to be very temporary. So to like judge your actions on the, you know, it's like you seem like somebody that doesn't plan on leaving this fucking social scene. So you do what you want to do and don't take shit from anyone that's probably not going to be there in a few weeks anyways.
Yeah, honestly.
But, you know, wrapping things up, you know, we've definitely, I think we've had a pretty good chat, and I feel like we could probably talk some more, but it does get to a point where, you know, nobody's going to listen to an hour and a half of us talking. Unfortunately, it's just like, you know,
unfortunately, we're not Joe Rogan yet.
We can't have a conversation acknowledging people's attention spans and then talk for 2.5 hours.
You're right.
It's very like counterproductive and slightly hypocritical. But, you know, with that being said, Sean, Strangeness in Proportion, I want to thank you for reaching out, taking the time to chat. I think it's really cool. I love talking with people that are definitely like up and coming younger getting connected. Because I mean, like the people like you are going to be the people that carry, you know, the local music scene for the next decade, because, you know, I'll still be around hopefully, but
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I'm not going to be fucking looking over house shows and knowing what's going on and keeping up with stuff. You need like a constant cycle of people. So, you know, having somebody like you that seems like you're interested in networking and meeting people regardless of like what style of music they're making, just linking up with other creative people, I think it's super crucial. And I would encourage you to get all of your peers to be the same, to keep the music community thriving.
Yeah, it's super important. I love a lot of people are kind of starting to understand. I think this quarantine has also kind of helped, you know, see celebrities how they are, and like people are starting to understand how important the local scene, and it's like where these famous people come from and where the roots are. Like, you know, you need to start discovering these people and enjoying like all sizes of people.
Dude, so many famous people have made such assholes out of themselves.
I know.
It's entertaining, don't get me wrong, but it's also like slightly unnerving to think about, like, you know, it's like, you know, like, these are the people who you hold in such high regard. But I mean, we should probably not even get this conversation started. It'll really start to sound like a Joe Rogan episode if we go down that road.
So what are your thoughts on aliens and DMT, by the way?
So with that being said,
you pull that up.
I'm going to do my outro, and then that'll be it. All right, dude.
Perfect. Thank you.
And that is all, folks. Thanks so much for listening. One more time, Sean, Strangeness In Proportion, thank you for being here. I'll be back again in a couple days with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the beat 2020. Woo, woo. Thanks for listening. Peace out.